Yeah.
Welcome, everyone. Crystal and I are so excited to be back with another live chat for Sisters Reviewing Books. As feature authors, bloggers, we're not authors, we are bloggers for the Coastal Magic Convention. We love bringing these chats to you and giving you a sneak peek at some of the amazing authors that are going to be at the event this year. For anyone new, Coastal Magic is a reader focused event happening February 19th through the 22nd in Daytona Beach, Florida. It is a weekend filled with author meet and greets, panel discussions, and really fun opportunities for readers to connect with their favorite storytellers. Tonight, we are thrilled to be chatting with award winning author Tracy Solheim. Tracy is known for her fun, heartfelt romances. She creates characters you can't help but to root for, whether they're chasing championships, finding family, or falling head over heels when they least expect it. Um, we can't wait to dive into her books, her inspirations, and maybe even a few behind the scenes stories. So grab a favorite drink, settle in, and join us in welcoming Tracy Solheim. Welcome, Tracy.
Hey,
Thank you for
thanks for
coming
having
tonight.
me. Yeah, thanks for
Absolutely.
having me.
Thank you. And so I think Amber is right. I think we'll go ahead and let you follow that up with a little introduction to yourself before we get things going with the chat.
Wait,
She's like,
she
um,
said I was right. We got to stop.
I know, we got to record
Stop.
that. It's now
Yeah,
recorded in
it is
perpetuity.
recorded. Oh, I'm going to play this for Christmas. Okay, go ahead,
So
Crystal.
I'm gonna let you go ahead and introduce yourself a little, just give a little overview of what you write. This is the main chance to talk about your books. Like I told you, we talk about everything. So go ahead and take advantage of this time to chat about your books.
Sure. I write contemporary romance that is lengthy, I guess, open door as well. There's a heat levels, not high, but again, it's there. Their books are set in locker rooms, small towns, and I have a romance suspense series that's set in the White House. What I'm working on right now is actually a hockey series as well. So I have some football, some, if you like sports, some football, some baseball, and I think I'm a golfer. Yeah, in my small town. It's funny. I had to reread Smolder because we did a talk about that a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, wow, I read this 10 years ago. I couldn't remember half the stuff I wrote, so it gets crazy. But I'm working on book 23 right now. So
Well, wow.
yeah.
In that series that we read, that Smolder series for the reading group?
No, in the
Okay.
that one only there's five. I wrote the first book
Okay.
in the series and four other. Although it's really funny because I guess there's a movie that just came out. I think it's on Apple TV, and it's called The Lost Bus or whatever, and it takes place during the Paradise Fire out in Sonoma. It was like 6 or 7 years ago, and I was kind of looking at it today. I was like, ooh, I kind of want to get back into the smoke jumper, but I've just got so many in the queue that it probably would be 6 or 7 books from now to get
Well,
back.
you did enough research, I think, that you could really probably
Yeah.
fill out a couple more books.
Well, yeah, and it was that one was very heavy in the research and it was a lot of
Yeah.
fun to learn about.
Okay. Well, we definitely look forward to chatting about your books. I am personally a fan of the sports romance, and to be
Yeah.
honest, I did not know that was a thing that I would be into until last convention, and I stumbled upon a few, and I was like, wow, I love this. So we'll definitely chat about that series. That's the Out of Bounds series,
Right.
and it's my current read, my favorite. But before we do, if you are watching, let me give a few shout outs just in general. As Amber mentioned, we are sisters reviewing books. When we do these chats about once a month, I think we have two next month, but when we do them, we do a bingo card bingo card where we use that if we need inspiration. We usually don't. Things flow, but if we need inspiration, we can have something to pull from. And basically, it is intended that you can get bingo because we will talk about all of this stuff in some way,
Yeah.
shape, or form. So as we were talking, if you feel like we touched on something, go ahead and mark it off. If you get bingo, go ahead and let us know. The author intro is like your freebie because that always happens. So
Yeah.
go ahead and let us know in the chat because we are not like we used to be on Instagram where we could see our comments right away. It may be that I do the draw later. So just go ahead and comment and tell us that you got bingo and how you got bingo and all, and we're cool. We'll trust you for the most part. So it's just a way to kind of keep up with us and have a little fun. And we will do a drawing for a ebook of Tracy Solheim's for whoever wins. So that's our spiel about the bingo card. And guess we'll go ahead and jump in. Um, hmm, where to start? So we started talking about your books. I should have had a starting question. I'm like, we'll go everywhere. Okay, so when you're writing a book, obviously one of those kind of go-to questions is like, what kind of plan do you have? You have it all planned out? Do characters, I mean, I know one of at least, do they like sometimes take over your plan? Like, how does it work?
Well, particularly with the Out of Bounds series. So that was the first book I sold was Game On, and Penguin Random House bought. They gave me a 3-book deal. So I'm like, oh, cool. But I had already started writing my series in my small town, and I wanted them to be book 2 and 3, right? They already had Game On, and they're like, no, we want the second one to be a football book. So I said, all right. So I based the second book in the small town. And then I thought, well, the third book will be the first, Back to Before, which is the first book in the small town series. But as happens, characters get kind of loud and obnoxious on the page, and you don't really know. It's so weird. We were joking the other day. I said, my son's like, don't tell these stories because it sounds like you're taking magic mushrooms or something. But these people just kind of appear, and they have these full personalities. And Brody, who is from Risky Game, in book 2 and Foolish Game of that series, just took over. And by the time I was at the end of the book, he's like, I want my own book. I want my own book, in my head. And it turns out that was probably one of the easiest books to write, just because I didn't have a plan. You know what I mean? I had some ideas of what I wanted, but it just flowed. Not every book. I wish every book was like that. The book I'm writing right now, I thought I had a plan, and I wrote the first couple chapters, and then I realized I don't like her. I know who I want her to be, but I'm not writing it like it is in my head. So I don't always have this totally plotted out book when I start. I know who the characters are and why they either should be together or shouldn't be together, but end up together. I know a little bit about their backstory and what their I guess what their tendencies are to not fall in love or whatever. What's holding them back, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. But I don't always know exactly what's going to happen. It kind of comes midway through the book, and then I'm like, oh, I was supposed to write that at the beginning, so I'll do it at the end. It all works out. But I'm not a huge person who, and I know people who do this. They write 30, 40-page outlines, and they've outlined every chapter. I'm like, dude, by the time you've done that, you've written the book. But part of me thinks that's kind of, what if midway through a character starts talking to you? It's like, no, I need a bigger storyline, and I need to go here with this person. I always feel like it's almost like wearing a straight jacket if I do that. So I'm kind of a pantser, I guess.
Two things, and
Mhm.
I say two things, which means
Mhm.
I'm destined to forget the second. Because the minute
Okay.
I do that and I say the first, the second goes. But first of all, it's funny to me that you say Brody just, kind of got loud and obnoxious because that man
Mhm.
like entered the book and it was Brody's like half story. I was like, I mean, he was just there. Like the whole book was
Right.
like, Brody, give me my key back.
Right.
Like,
Right. And I was like, wait, how did he get the key? Why? Yeah.
and so I think what the second thing though, because like Brody was like, I was gonna tell the story that when I finished the second book, because I enjoyed the first book last year, I really did.
Mhm.
But I will say the second book was probably where the story I always find that to be true in a series. The second book, you kind of know
Really?
the characters, you know the world, and you just sink into it more. And I loved the
Yeah.
second book. And I finished and I was like, okay, I don't know if Tracy's going to be an author yet. So I can't really read anymore because,
Yeah.
and then I was like, but if it's Brody's book,
Right.
I turned the page and I was like, oh, it's Brody's book.
It's Brody's.
Of
Yeah.
course I'm reading it. So
Because we are competitive, so we compete monthly, and we read Coast Magic feature authors, and we
Mhm.
get points. So if we know an author is coming back the next year, we will hold on to those books so we can get points.
And then keep reading. Yeah.
and if we
That's
don't
right.
know, we kind of, kind of just hedge our bets a little bit. Like sometimes I can't help
Yeah.
it. I'm like, well, I want to read one more. And since you're somewhat local to me, I was like, well, I'll definitely check this one out. And then I was like, I can't put it down. So then the second thing, and hey, I did remember,
You
I
did.
think. So it's funny to me that you said you didn't see Brody with a story and you don't have a plan because the book I'm reading now, the fourth book, is his
Mhm.
sister's book.
Yes.
So how did that happen? Did Brody really run you off the rails?
No, yeah, he did totally because well, actually I think I did do Back to Before between that and Sleeping with the Enemy with Penguin Random House. I have to think, it was like 12 years
Mm.
ago. But And they were like, no, we really want another football book. I'm like, okay, I've got the sister there. And I wrote a novella also called A Numbers Game that they used kind of as a pre-sale for Risky Game. And it had a little bit of the owner in there. And I thought, ooh, I could put the two of them together, you know. And I liked Bridget as kind of his moral conscience a little bit in Risky Game. And I thought, I really want to give her a story, but it needs to be, because she's a lawyer and she's kind of prissy, and, you know, I needed to give her something that was really kind of showed that she really wasn't always like that, you know, in the past, and she was scarred a little bit. So that's how we got to Sleeping with the Enemy. And it's really funny because I just read an article that Sleeping with the Enemy features the cheerleaders on the team as well. And I just read an article the other day that it referenced back to articles I had used before about how the cheerleaders in the NFL, you know, were suing their teams for some of these grievances or whatever. And I was like, wow, it's back again 10 years later, you know. So
Yeah.
it's
Well,
I try to keep things that are relevant in the sports world as well in the books as best I can.
yeah, I could probably talk all day about your sports books, so I'll try not to completely take that. And I guess we talked about sports, y'all. So if Amber's keeping up, we
I
talked
am. I'm marking. I'm trying to read.
inspiration and all of that. And I guess kind of to bring that back around to the you. So I feel one of the things that I love, and I love doing these chats and I love Coastal Magic, is I feel like I really get sucked into an author's work when I get to know their personality and when I get to know them, because I can always see just a little bit, like there's just something there. So what would you say as like your experiences or you makes it into your books? Do you think any bit of your personality, like what do you see of yourself in your books?
Well, I think I always have like these, the heroines are always kind of like they're confident in their careers, but maybe not so much in who they are outside of their career. You know, particularly their well, I'm trying to figure out a good way to put it. You know, I read these books where there's great banter between the heroine and the hero, whatever. And I'm thinking that would never be me. I was never one of those people who could ever do that and carry on a conversation like that and kind of flirt with someone. So a lot of my characters are kind of like that. They're a little shyer, but they're more confident with their world, their career, right? But not so much in their love life. And I think a lot of those characters were like that. When I was young, I was like that.
I can see that. Okay, that's cool. And I guess that borders on something you said too when you commented about, making these strong women. And it's an unfortunate part of life that sometimes being a strong woman can come across as, not a good thing.
Right.
And I think your women do such a great job. And I think it's you too. I think you do such a good job of finding ways to, they toe that line sometimes, because, and I wonder if the one you're writing maybe toes it a bit too much because
Yeah.
and so how much of a challenge is that? And like, how do you approach that? And how do you soften them some? And how do you, like what process do you have for creating those women?
Well, I think a lot of times, on when we want to read, we want to read someone who's kind of stronger, maybe stronger than we think we are, and we were talking about this tonight at another book club. I just actually came from my own book club, and the character in the book we read, she was strong in some points and she knew she was strong, but not in other areas. And she actually accomplished a lot of goals that she didn't think she would ever, accomplish outside of falling in love, which was very interesting in the book that we read. But anyway, I just went totally off the tangent. I think when I'm writing them, I always worry about that they're all the same. You know what I mean? I try to find a quirk or something, a character trait that's different in each one so that they, whereas I think in Risky Game, now I'm totally blanking on the character's name.
Give me a second. Shay.
Yeah, Shannon. So, and I don't know if you noticed, if you read you're in Brody's point of view, he always calls her Shannon.
Yeah.
Everybody, but she always says everybody calls me Shay, but Brody always calls her Shannon. And it's kind of this little quirk that you put in there just to show that there's a whole different relationship that they're having aside from everybody else in the book, right? And she's kind of transitioning like, oh, I can be Shannon with him, but I'm Shay with everybody else. And that's kind of, it's very subtle in a lot of the books, but that's kind of what I try to attempt to do is make them one way with everybody else, and then they kind of peel back some of the layers when they're with their love interest. And that's kind of how I try to make them all different. But I guess they're all the same if I'm saying that they all do that.
They all have
kind
their
of
own
different, yeah, they all have kind of a different piece of baggage they're carrying, right?
Well, they're all like, they all have their own personalities within their
Yeah,
relationships and all too, and their different careers and all that
right.
bring come to the story. So I don't think they're all the same at all, but I do enjoy that sometimes they are a little tough edged, but
Yeah,
there's just
yeah,
something about them that you like, where if you
right.
didn't have that, you might, be like, I don't like them so much, but they do. There's something soft there. So
Yeah, and I don't always want them to like roll over and cave in. Oh, he loves me. I'm just, or this guy's attracted to me. I'm just gonna, you know what I mean? I want them to be like, make the guy work for it just a little bit, you know?
and I'll throw this to Amber for a second, but when she can chime in or not, but I know that she loves, like, and shifter books and stuff, and she really
Mhm.
enjoys that, like, strong male, and your
Right.
men are like that in sports, like there is a little bit of that in there.
Well, yeah,
But you also, the women, and it has to happen in the shifter books too, like they
But you
have,
have to have a strong woman that can
yeah.
combat that
exactly.
alpha male, because if it's an alpha male with a meek woman, then she's just a pushover, and that's
Right.
not, I don't
And
want to
that,
read that.
right. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't want him to just fall over right away and fall at the
Right.
guy's feet.
Yeah, they can't.
But I always try to, everybody says, oh, you write such, alpha men. They always think of athletes as alpha men. But a lot of, if you look at the books, a lot of them, they're alpha on the outside, but there's always something that they're struggling with, and they don't want to show to the outside world. Brody's case is obviously very easy because he's got, this sugar disorder, and which could take him out of sports. But some of the other ones, I think I want to think Will Conley. He's always he's really smart and he's really athletic, but he's carrying this chip on his shoulder because he was illegitimate and he was just raised by a mom and he was the poor kid in town. And so I always try to give them at least one vulnerability, even if it's they can't dance. I've got one character in one book who's like a terrible dancer, and one guy who is a terrible driver. So I try to give some things that they're great at sports, but they're bad at something else,
Right. They're
because I think
human,
it, right,
They're
right.
they're
It
not
just makes
perfect.
them, yeah, yeah. It makes them a little more relatable.
No, definitely. I enjoy your men and your women. Let me tell you, the pages turn. I like them both. I think you said earlier, like low to, medium heat or whatever, but the
Yeah.
tension, oh my gosh, the tension.
Well,
Like
thank you.
from like
Thank
the
you.
minute they meet each other, like they're
Right.
trying not, they can't, or they're not even trying not to. They're
Right.
just like, I'm not going to, but it's
Right.
there, like every minute of the page. Yeah, we did the intro. Okay, so let's what character that you've written in one of your books would you like to have drinks with? You had to pick one. And what would they want? Coffee? Or are we going for wine? Like, what are we doing?
Well, I think Bridget from Sleeping with the Enemy, she's always drinking tea or Pinot Grigio. So and it was funny because someone said to me, she goes, "Oh, what is she's you?" And I'm like, "Well, I was someone who had kind of the same interest that I had." And I like Bridget because, again, she's really carrying this giant scar around, but she's made it. Like, she's a partner in her law firm, and she's still moving ahead. So I think she would be one. I do. Trying to think, in my small town series, there's one where she's the nanny and she has totally had her whole reputation wrecked by this guy. She was a school teacher, and she ends up in the small town where her estranged father is, that she doesn't know, and he's remarried to someone who's got the perfect family, right? All 5 kids. One's a congressman, one's a Cosmo architect, one, and her dad's the sheriff, and she's the one who has this this bad reputation that she's trying to hide from the family, because they're all uber achievers, and then there's just her. I like her because she's kind of got an attitude like, you can't drag me down, even though all of these terrible things have happened to me, and all of this other family is just so flippin' perfect. I'm gonna hang in with them, and I'm gonna try extra hard. So I liked her too. So those are kind of my two favorite.
I didn't want to divert my attention but I wanted to see if there were any comments in Facebook, and a few
Mhm.
that popped up, and I was like, "Is that about this?" Because what is this? I read about a kilt wearing football player.
Oh
Jody
yeah.
says, "Thank you for writing a kilt wearing
Yes.
football player."
That
So
was that was actually a very fun book. Those two were crazy. I love Declan Fletcher because it's kind of like The Proposal. It's a twist on The Proposal. He's the one who someone has messed up his green card or whatever, and he is going to have to go back to Scotland and not play for the football team, and he has to get into an arranged marriage. But it's very interesting what happens in the book and how they get married, because he's actually solved all the women's problems, who he's ended up going to marry, and she makes the choice to marry him anyway, even though he's kind of helped her out of her jam, because they're both kind of trying to help each other out. So I liked Declan is probably my favorite guy character that I've written, because he was gruff and Scottish and all this kind of stuff, but underneath he was a total teddy bear, because he wasn't gonna he was willing to, kind of give up his position on the team and not take advantage of this poor woman who needed money, to move on. Her boyfriend had like accrued all this debt in her name, and all of a sudden she had to pay it back. So it was a whole,
Yeah.
well, two
but
things. What was the book again?
it's called Just for Kicks.
Okay.
And really funny, this is a funny story. I remember when the editor at Penguin Random House was like, "Oh no, you can't write a book about a mathlete, a chess playing athlete who has a PhD from MIT. Those football players, that doesn't even exist." And I went, "Oh really?" Click. I read this. It's a blog, and it's called the Players Tribune, and it was started by Derek Jeter. And it's basically all these athletes, they kind of write letters to themselves, read letters to myself as a teen, and just kind of all about the psychology of what they've gone through in life to become an athlete. And one of them, who was a defensive player for the Baltimore Ravens, was a PhD from MIT, and he taught chess to inner city kids. And I'm like, dude, I want this character in my book. So I figured out a way to kind of get him in there. But it was so funny when the editor was like, "Oh, no one's going to read this. These characters don't exist. That's total make believe." I'm like, "No, here he is, right here." So that was probably my one time when I was like,
Checkmate.
"Yeah." Basically, I was like, "Here I
And is
am."
that the
Got it.
one? It is. Was that the one in Just for Kicks, or were we?
Yeah, he's in Just for
Okay.
Kicks. He's the kicker.
Okay.
So that's the three series. It's Just for Kicks, Double Dog Dare, and Catch and Release. So that's a second football team, and there's a novella that kind of ties them both together called A Numbers Game, which you can get on my website. I think it's
I'm
free. So.
on a roll tonight because I remember the second thing. It was random, but he sounded like Roy Kent from
Yes,
I was
yes,
like, it sounds like you're
yes. I was
Roy.
kind of like, oh, and he was he's always gruff, but he has a cat that
Oh,
that someone left, I think an old girlfriend left, and the cat is like totally in love with him. So when
Oh.
she has to move in with him for immigration reasons, they have to live in the same place. Well, the cat's pooping in her shoes because she didn't want, she doesn't want another woman in the house. But it's pretty funny because have this big brawny guy with this tiny cat who
I love
adores
that.
him. So
well, and I thought you did well too because Will was smart. That's why I was wondering. I was like
yeah,
checking because I know Will, and you made a really good reason as to why he was too, because
right,
those schools and all, like they need
right.
athletes. So,
Yep, yep. And
um,
I had a friend who that I worked with whose son played football at Yale. So that's kind of why we went there with that. Yeah.
okay. Um, So tell me about setting because we've got Baltimore for the
Hmm.
football.
Hmm.
Why did you choose Baltimore?
Um,
And like, how
yeah.
like do you stay on the surface with it? Do you actually have familiarity with the area?
Yes. So it's really funny when in Risky Game, there's a scene where they're in oh my gosh, now it's totally going out of my head. The name of the store, Santoni's. I should know this. My in-laws live literally a block away, and they live a half a mile away from the Ravens training center. So all the guys kind of live in that area, and they go to the little store, Santoni's. There's a scene. I think there's two scenes in there that take place at Santoni's little. It's a little gourmet store, grocery store. right near the training facility. So that's kind of why I did that one. I think, Baltimore for me, because my husband is from there. We used to live in Washington, D.C. I kind of knew the area. So that's why I picked that one. Milwaukee, I had done Barbara Vay's Reader Luncheon there for probably 3 or 4 years or whatever. And then I did a signing at a bookstore there. And I was just meeting all these sports people who love sports romance, whatever. And it kind of reminded me a lot of Baltimore. It's kind of this working class city. Everybody's very into their sports team. So I just set those books there. The Second Chance series is set technically in Southport, North Carolina, which is where Nick Sparks has several of his books set. My mom lived there. So the hot dog trolley and the Job Adult and all the places in there actually exist in Southport. A couple other places we've made up because we needed like a dog park and a couple other things that are in there, and a ballet studio and all that that weren't there. So that's kind of how we did that.
Well, I do love a setting. I love when a book is set in Atlanta, and I'm like always mildly disappointed when it's just, Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
But just mildly. I mean, I can appreciate it, but I'm always like a little
Yeah.
excited. I'm like, ooh, I wonder if I'll know anything. So that's cool. I'll throw it to one of I'll hit a couple of things here. I'll hit a random / music. So I feel like I've been to a couple of live concerts recently. I've seen a lot of people talking about concerts. So, are you a live music fan?
Oh
What's
yeah.
a concert that you've been to? One recently, one you absolutely love? Just tell us something about your.
Well, let's see. Who was I? Oh, I think I saw Van Morrison at it's not Verizon anymore. I forget what it's called. The outdoor amphitheater here in Alpharetta.
I should know too. I mean, I live right
I know it's
and all of a
Maris
sudden my
Bank.
brain
Is it Maris Bank? Is that what it is now?
they
I
changed
think.
names just like the stadium
Yeah.
about like so
Yeah.
it's still Verizon to me.
Yeah. So that we saw Van Morrison. My daughter and her boyfriend went and saw Willie Nelson there. I'm like, what are you doing?
Wow.
You're 27-year-old go to see Willie Nelson. But they had fun. I'm a huge Springsteen fan. So whenever I can go see Springsteen, and for 40, 50 years now, that's what I've been doing. So he's probably the best concert though I have seen in my life is Prince.
Oh, wow.
Obviously years and years ago. But I will tell you, I mean, Springsteen puts on a fabulous show, but Prince actually outdid him. The one time I saw him in DC, we were at the Constitution Hall, and we were literally, I don't know, 5 rows from him, and it was
Wow.
it was amazing. Yeah,
That sounds
I would.
amazing.
Yeah, and I'm a huge live music fan. My husband is a more sports fan, so I usually have to go with girlfriends or my kids. I think my son's first concert when he was like 12 was Springsteen, because my husband wasn't going. I was like, oh, I'm taking the 12-year-old, and he had a great time. So
My husband's more of the live music one. I love it, but
yeah,
I also I don't make it very long before somebody irritates me.
but
But
this is true. This is true.
so funny story real quick about Verizon Amphitheater. I'll make it short because this is not my life, but I went there to see Fall Out Boy one time, and it was
Oh
the
wow.
oddest experience. Like the thing that still cracked me up was we showed up. It was Fall Out Boy and oh my gosh, My Chemical Romance, I think,
Okay.
and there was a line, and it had been a hard day, and I was like, I really want a drink. And we
Yes.
got there was this long line, and I was like, well, I guess I'm not having a drink.
Well, it would have been $38, but that's
Yeah,
okay.
well, when we got in, realized that was not the drink line. That was the line for merchandise. And these were
Oh,
all kids with their parents.
oh my
And
gosh.
literally all night could just walk up to the bar line and they were like, woohoo, you're here.
Yeah,
Because there was no
they're
drink.
so
I was
kids.
like,
That's so
Wow, that's
funny.
weird,
crazy.
right? Like it
Yeah,
was
that is weird.
like Twilight. I was like,
Are the kids in? Are the youths into Fall Out Boy?
yeah, well, apparently, well, this was probably 12 years
Oh,
ago.
so they're not youths. They're just young millennials. I got you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I felt old. It was the first time I was like, oh, wow, weird. But anyway, it's just funny because that place is it's a cool
Yeah.
little place that's not far away.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So
All right,
wow.
let me ask. I'm close to bingo. We talked. I heard the word inspiration at the beginning, but was that one of our topics yet?
We haven't like officially talked about it, but
All
go
right,
ahead.
then I will. No, no, because that would give me bingo. So, but wait, we'll see. We'll see what else you call
Oh,
fangirl.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I did want to know. So again, just not to give my own little personal story, but I got to meet my author of my dreams this summer in Ireland. Like Ireland was awesome.
Oh, I saw
I
those. Yes.
met Nora Roberts. Okay.
Yes.
So, I know that authors also are readers first, or were readers, or enjoy reading. Who would you absolutely like maybe travel to Ireland to meet?
Oh my gosh.
Or who have you met even, in your maybe community?
Well, it is so funny. So I think the first time I met Lorraine Heath, who I adore, she writes historical fiction. She does a tea in Dallas and a fundraiser. So I went and did that, and I did. I kind of had tears in my eyes. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm meeting her. Susan Elizabeth Phillips is another one. She's become just a great mentor to me. And she's very snarky. If you've ever met her, she is hysterical. She did Love Y'all here and was so funny. I think at the time was like 78, 79, and they were saying in the New York Times that, she was the grandmother of so and so, but she was still the queen of football romance. And she's like, I'll show you. She hands the microphone off and drops down and does like 10 push-ups, and then looks at me. I'm like, oh no, girl, it's all you. I'm not doing any push-ups. Um, Kristen Higgins is another one who I remember when I first met her, I was kind of like really tongue-tied. And again, has become like someone who I could, text him, or not text, but email, and be like, hey, I need help with something. She's a really just a fun person. I signed at Nora's store. Probably it was Halloween. It was probably 2018, 2017. So much fun, so much fun. And we stayed at the inn across the
I
street,
know.
and we had the
Yeah.
best time. And at breakfast, they're like, oh, people will be lined up already. They were. It was like constant for, I don't know. I think they came to get tickets at 8, but it opened at 10 and we went till 4, and people were just constantly coming through. And I was sitting, it was me and then Jason, Nora's son, and then Nora, and then there were other people on the other side. So I was kind of caught in the crossfire because people had to come by me to get to Nora. And I was like, oh, here's a book, buy a book, It was a lot of fun, and I enjoyed meeting her. But she's very she doesn't talk a lot, you know what I mean? But she was very gracious and took pictures with everybody and all that. So it was a lot of fun.
I still made my entire trip. Like it was Ireland.
Right.
I wanted to go to Ireland all my life, and people
Yep.
are looking. I'm like, Ireland was great. It was amazing, and I want to go back again. But I met Nora Roberts.
Right. There you go.
And she was so nice, and
She's very nice, and she took time with everybody. So funny story. My husband, who has never met a stranger and is very chatty, so he's kind of at that end with Laura, Nora's assistant, and taking pictures for people when they'd walk by. Oh, can I get a picture with Nora? So he's taking pictures, and he's chatty and all this stuff. And I don't know how they kind of got chatty, Nora and my husband, but it was a year later. I'm in the elevator at RWA in San Diego, and not even a year later. Anyway, we're in the elevator. I'm like, oh gosh, it's Nora Roberts, and there's Laura. And I'm kind of like, does she remember me? Should I say hi? Yada yada. And then Laura remembered me, and we're chit chatting. And Nora looks at me. She goes, "Oh, is your husband?"
Oh gosh.
What? And it's so funny because I was like, she probably has no clue. Once she figured out who I was, she's like, oh, she's the one with the chatty husband. Where is he?
Oh, that is awesome.
So, and y'all have met him and seen him at events, so everybody knows my husband at events. It was pretty.
Oh my
funny.
gosh, I love that.
Yeah,
I was just been tickled that she remembered me.
What I took away from that is Nora Roberts remembered you, and
well, kind of, sort of.
Well, I mean, even if it was by proxy, it was
right.
She remembered.
She remembered.
She had to remember you, and she had to remember you enough to know that she knew your husband.
That I had the daddy husband.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's funny. I will say as the last thing, I mean, make this an all Nora Roberts thing, but I do remember my husband. I keep laughing. She was so awesome in her talk. Like her little talk was so fantastic. I keep telling people, I'm pretty sure that I could get my husband to read one of her books after that.
Probably, yes.
She had him there. He was just stuck there because we're in Ireland. I mean, he doesn't know where to go. We're in Kong, Ireland. Right. I mean, there's nowhere. And so I'm like, okay, you're getting a ticket and you're going to watch Nora Roberts. And he was laughing. And I was like, you'd probably read a book right now, wouldn't you?
Right.
Okay, well, Amber, why don't you hit the inspiration question and get bingo? Because as I said, we are creeping up on 8:40 really fast.
All right. Well, I've kind of gotten bingo 10,000 times because we mentioned it. You can mark it off, but you can either go inspiration or writing routine, and you'll give me bingo. So, which one would you like to chat about?
Let's talk about writing routine because it's pretty funny, especially where I am right now. So I mean, and I when I was traditionally published, the word count was always 85, 90,000 words, right? I try to write, novellas and work with like on compilations with other authors where you're writing something shorter. I can never do it. I'm like, for some reason in my head, I see 85, the story falls 85, 90,000 words. So I'll give myself probably 4 to 5 months from start to complete, finish editing, and then it'll go to like formatting after that. Um, and I always think, oh, I'm going to start early and I'm going to be at this certain point, and it's never that way. And I'm there right now. I'm in panic mode, where I still have half a book to write and it's due in 6 weeks. And I'm like, oh my gosh. But I said, I've gone back and kind of recreated this character, not once, but twice. But I think I've got her now. So my routine can be pretty crazy. And I told everybody tonight at my book club, I was like, you will not now see me. This is the last time you're going to see me. Don't call me for lunch. Don't call me for coffee. And they all know it now. It's pretty funny. 10 years later, everybody knows. My daughter, I told her that today. She said, oh, can we come and get nails done? I'm like, my nails will not see a manicurist for another 6 or 7 weeks. Don't call me because I have to finish by a certain point. So my process is pretty, as my husband says, ugly. He said, oh, we're at the heavy chocolate point. Like he measures it in chocolate and wine and what I need at this
Right.
certain time. And then the last 3 to 4 weeks, I'll be like, there's no dinner. Figure it out. Bring me something to eat, throw it down the stairs into my office. I don't care. And so once we get to that point, he's like, oh, good. There's only a couple more weeks left of this and should be done. So it's kind of a bizarre thing. Like I'll get up, I'll work out, and then I'll, sit down here and write a little bit, go over what I did the day before, go give the dog lunch, go take the dog for a walk. But from 2:30 to 6:30, I will all of a sudden the floodgates will turn and I'll work for pretty much 2,500 words in 4 hours if I can.
That is when
And
my brain shuts down. That's the time my
yeah,
brain says, hey, we're done for the
right,
day.
right.
Treat
And
yourself.
I think everybody's kind of different. And I have low vision. So I have to be really careful of spacing out how much time I spend in front of the computer, because at a certain point, my brain will be like, sorry, I have no idea if that's an A or a Z. I can't go there anymore. So I've learned to really kind of parcel out my time and process it. And I've also learned not to fight myself and not get mad at myself if that first month I'm not getting the word count every day that I really think I should be getting, and not to all last week, not to beat myself up because I've got to rewrite this scene again because it's not working. It's here in my head, and that's what I get mad about. I'm like, it sounds so good in my head. Why does it not sound good here on the paper? But sometimes it takes 3 or 4, and then there's like a risky game. I keep saying that was the easiest book to write. It just went. And I think the book that just came out, Keeping It Real, same thing. It just came out, and it was like one draft. It's like, oh, okay.
And you think you've got it, and then the next time you're like, back to normal.
It's bad. And while I was writing Keeping It Real, I was seeing the book I'm writing right now, Dirty Little Secret, and I'm like, wow, this is going to be great. And I think I built it up in my head, and then I got here to write it, and I was like, oh wait, I want to make sure this is. And a lot of times it is second guessing, and I have to like just say, nope, now you're at a deadline, you got to write it, and it always comes out okay, but it's painful. It's painful. I won't lie, it's painful.
I was gonna say I kind of live my life that way a little bit, and it's always been a thing for all of my time, like papers to do for class, things.
Right.
And what I have tried to embrace in this last year has really worked. Is those times you were hoping to get to work and you didn't, is being careful not to let that like interfere with life in that moment. Because if you're going to work, you have to somewhat give yourself permission to just not work. Because what I right now I'm doing with work is I'm not bringing it home, and it's just when it was home, it was always hanging over me. I was like, I should probably work. I should probably work.
Right.
And I think, it sucks that like 6 weeks, but if you learn,
well, that's it.
Just enjoy the time before and not let it be hanging over you, then you're okay.
And that's kind of the conversation I had with a friend of mine tonight. She goes, oh, now you're going to be stressed or whatever. I'm like, yeah, but I know I've done it before. I know it's short lived, and I'll get there and the book will be fine. I'm not too, one of the books that I was most, just for kicks, I think I was most stressed about, and I had to rush at the end or whatever. I don't know if you've read Lori Foster. She's a wonderful author, who I greatly respect. And I guess she picked it up a couple weeks ago and read it. And she was like, "This is the most beautiful book," and I don't read sports romance. And I was kind of like, "Oh, that's one of the ones I'm worried didn't get enough attention." It's kind of funny. The ones that you think you kind of not dialed it in, but didn't. I would have liked to have spent another month again, going over it. But on the other side, I could spend forever tweaking the freaking book, and I finally I have to,
Exactly.
if I don't have a dedeadline, I
Yep,
will
it'll
do it.
never be
But
done. It'll
right,
never
if
be
I
done.
don't put it up on Amazon and say it's coming out this day,
Yeah.
I'll tweak it forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I learned that
Sometimes
with
it's like get it on a calendar, make a
Yep.
plan, and we'll
Yep.
figure out how we get there later.
yeah. I learned,
Exactly.
and I know we're about to
But
wrap
we'll
up,
get
but
there.
I learned that with lesson planning because now I have a very basic
Right.
lesson plan for like dual school days. Something's there, something's good to go. And
Right.
then on my way to work, I'll have the best epiphanies of like
Right.
I throw together and cool, now I can do it. But I didn't have to stress because I had something. Like
Exactly.
we were good to go. It may not have been
Exactly.
amazing, and there were days I'm like, but you just I think that comes with time and you learn that. So it sounds like you've kind of got that figured out and you've got a great
Yep.
husband because I do too. Whenever I get in
Yep.
that moment, he just goes, there's going to be tears and I'm going to have to
Right.
cook dinner for several weeks. And
That's what it is. That's what it is.
but you've got it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I feel like we've hit a lot of things. So guys, if you didn't think we did, we probably did. I promise you, most of this stuff has been touched on at least a little bit.
No,
So
it really all has everything. I could
Okay.
have picked it all off.
we're gonna wrap up because I went past my like 8:40. We're gonna wrap up because we were having so much fun. It's always the
Yeah.
case. Thank you so much for hanging out with us.
Oh, thank you
Tracy.
for having me.
It's been a blast, and we definitely would love you to just kind of let everybody know where they can find you on
Mhm.
socials.
Mhm.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Basically, TracySolheim.com is actually my store/website. You can sign up for my newsletter there. We try to do a couple newsletters a month. I am a little late. I think it's been 3 weeks since I sent one out. But there's usually a giveaway in that. I am on Instagram. I think it's Tracy Solheim author. And then TikTok, it's author Tracy Solheim, or vice versa. It's either one of those. And Facebook, it's Tracy Solheim Books. If you are coming to Coastal Magic and you want to pre-order, I am going to put my pre-order link up. I think I could tag it with this when you put this up.
Yeah.
So the pre-order link is there.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Awesome.
And
Yeah.
and we will have, I think since last year, I'll have 2 to 3 new books, I think.
Wow.
Well, definitely the 2 hockey books will be out for Coastal Magic in February. So.
Okay, and just another thing as we wrap up here too, if the video, I hope it comes out good. I had to leave the window open so the cat would hang at the window and not in front of my face. So, and then he just decided to finish the chat out for us. He was like, okay. But thank you so much. We've had so much fun. Thank you everybody for checking in tonight and tuning in. If you get bingo, let us know in the comment section when we post this or on the original chat. We'll figure it out. Yeah, everybody have a fantastic night.
Thanks, ladies.
Thank you.